From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Saturday, December 10th, 2016. Silver is trading at $16.90 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,160 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 0.6 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $779. Antiwar.com reports while all indications are that the offensive against the city of Mosul has ground to a near halt and there are at least multiple more months of fighting to come in that city, Iraqi officials are already looking past the battle, seeing victory as inevitable. Not that they expect peace, of course, rather officials are envisioning a dramatic difference in the nature of the war against the Islamic State as soon as Mosul falls, with the Islamic State shifting away from its current operations and back towards the landless insurgency that it was for years before it started taking over cities. The officials are saying that they will be moving away from major ground offensives against the Islamic State and focusing on airstrikes and intelligence work to try to undermine the group's continuing operations, with the top priority being tracking the Islamic State fighters who will eventually escape Mosul. This, of course, recognizes that despite having surrounded Mosul so there would be no escape, there will eventually be a lot of escape, and even that rests of the assumption that Iraq eventually captures the city, which is likely to take a long time and a lot of additional fighting. It also puts Iraq back in the position of fighting an insurgency of the Islamic State, who they failed so disastrously to cope with last time that the group ended up capturing almost half the country, with no signs the Iraqi government has learned anything or has any ideas of how to do better this time. You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and numerous supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $1 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. That's fans.fppradio.com. UPI reports a new study suggests the American dream is fading, citing research that shows 50% of people born in the 1980s make more money than their parents, compared to 92% of those who were born in the 1940s. That is, if you consider the definition of the American dream to be a person making more than his or her parents. In the study, The Fading American Dream: Trends in Absolute Income Mobility Since 1940, conducted by Stanford University, Harvard University, and the University of California at Berkeley, researchers said absolute income mobility, a rate used to determine the number of children who earn more than their parents, has fallen sharply over the past half-century. The study said income inequality is the primary reason younger people have been left behind despite a growing gross domestic product, the secondary factor being a slower rate of economic growth when compared to that seen after the generation born in the 1940s. Researchers found that upward income mobility diminished the most in the industrial Midwest states such as Michigan and Illinois, but in Washington, D.C., those born since 1980 have a 62.2% chance of earning more than their parents, the highest rate nationally by 7%. The study said if income distribution remained at the same level seen during the generation born in the 1940s, then 80% of today's young adults would be earning more than their parents. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports a U.S. judge in Wisconsin on Friday rejected a request by supporters of President-elect Donald Trump to stop a recount of election votes, while a Pennsylvania judge said he would make a ruling on Monday on whether to allow a recount to go forward there. The results of the November 8th election have been challenged in 3 states by Green Party candidate Jill Stein, who finished 4th in the presidential election. The other state is Michigan. Even if all 3 recounts were carried out, they would be extremely unlikely to change the outcome of Trump's win over Democrat Hillary Clinton. Lawyers for the Green Party, the Trump campaign, and the state argued the matter for 3 hours, with Stein supporters saying the state's election process was so disorganized that state officials had not known the recount petition filing deadline for some counties. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.